It is Actraiser for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. One of the first games for the console, one of the first games I finally got to play for the console, when I finally got my crack at the Super Nintendo. And it wound up being one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. We're going to take a brief look at the game, show you what it's all about while I talk about some memories. You can hear in the background that fantastic score by composer Yuzo Koshiro, who did other such classics as the Japanese Falcom games Ys and the Dragon Slayer series. He did Streets of Rage. He did one of the Golden Axes, I believe. He did quite a few great soundtracks. And this, in my humble opinion, is his absolute finest work, hands down. One of the best gaming soundtracks of all time. Right up there with Final Fantasy IV, Mega Man 2, etc. So here's where the game starts. This is your intro. You have to create a name for yourself, what your god is going to be called. In this game, you basically play a god, and you have this little cherub helper. So I'm going to enter the master's name, and appropriate to this channel, I'm going to name him Retro. Are you awake, Sir Retro? I think that's got a nice feel to it. This is a little angel sent to help me recover my fucking lost strength. There's monsters that have taken over the earth, and the evil demon Tanzra, he's the one, you know, he's that source of evil who's giving all the monsters strength and causing them to swarm the lands. So you've got to be a badass and go downstairs and, you know, knock some heads in. Put some shit straight. You float around in this nifty little thing called the Sky Palace. There's a couple of the first areas of the game. The first area you're supposed to go to is Fillmore. And I'm going to start out by fighting monsters. Speaking of that soundtrack, just listen to that shit. This is 1991 Super NES 16-bit sound, and it's fantastic. In general, I would say that I'm a little biased because I grew up on the NES, so I kind of honestly, I like a lot more NES soundtracks than I do Super Nintendo, even though Super NES obviously had richer sound, more channels of sound, more types of sound. But I personally am a big fan of the old 8-bit bleeps and bloops from the NES. Even remakes of NES games didn't sound like Super Mario All-Stars, for example. The music was technically quote-unquote better to a lot of people, but to me, the tunes just didn't sound the same. Or like Battletoads or Mega Man Wily Wars, which was 1, 2, and 3 on the Sega Genesis. Those ports, the music just did not sound the same as the NES to me. But this is an exception. This is fucking badass. This soundtrack is amazing. That composer is amazing. Mr. Yuzo Koshiro. Great guy. I need to become familiar with more of his work. He's right up there, in my mind, with Koji Kondo, the man infamous, of course, for such series as Mario, Zelda, etc. I always liked these trees. These tree platform guys remind me of the trees in the old 60s Disney musical film that I used to love as a kid, Babes in Toyland. That had a scene where the protagonist gets surrounded by these evil trees with faces, and that creeped me out as a a little 3 or 4 year old. It always stuck with me, and those trees remind me of it. This is the first boss. He is a centaur warrior dude. He looks pretty regal and noble, but for some reason, I guess he's supposed to be a demon because he's obviously working for that asshole Tanzra. First time I played this, was not until like 95, 96. I didn't, get a Super Nintendo till then. But I can imagine in 1991, this was fucking amazing. The graphics, the music, people were probably fucking blown away. Even the simple, like, Mode 7 zoom down on the map into the level, that was probably mind-blowing for 1991. So here you go. Start phase 2 of the gameplay. This is the building mode, the sim mode. You start out with just a temple in your honor, and you have to help these people build up their land, fight off the monsters, and live in peace. In this phase, you take control of this little cherub dude who helps you out, while you just kind of look on from above and direct things like a god. And, honestly, like, I love the action parts of this game, and it wouldn't be the same without it. But I could definitely play a game based on just the fucking, like, world-building parts of this. If they made a game, if somebody made a game that was just like the world-building parts in this, in Actraiser, but elaborated on it, built on it, and made more to it, I'd fucking totally play that. These are different godly spells that you have. I'm going to use some lightning to burn away these bushes so that these humans can build houses and farms for themselves. These little demon spots on the map spawn these fucking monsters that you have to constantly fight off with the cherub, and I mean constantly. Because they will fuck your shit up. The big bats will take off with people and lower your population, which reduces your power. And the little blue demon assholes shoot lightning that fucking destroys houses and shit. Set fires and whatnot. They're little assholes. My favorite tune in the game, and one of my favorite tunes in gaming period, is the tune that you can hear in the background right now. It's a nice little number called Birth of the People, which is very apt. Boom. When I played through this game the first time as a young teen, I had no problem listening to this tune play as I did these world-building parts for fucking hours. It got ingrained in my psyche. I'd have to really think about, like, my top fucking, like, soundtracks of all time for games. I know Mega Man 2 is right up at the top. Final Fantasy 4, aka Final Fantasy 2, on the Super Nintendo, right up there, amazing. Final Fantasy 6, aka 3, also amazing. The Actraiser on the Super Nintendo, fucking amazing. Godzilla on NES, as repetitive as it can be, as I've said before. Great soundtrack. Monster in My Pocket on NES, fantastic fucking soundtrack. Boom. So yeah, you are limited in your world building, in your city building, from, you know, left to right, up and down. Just 4 directions of road building, basically. You can't get more complex than that. You have to build little, you know, kind of isometric blocks of land for these people. Or guide them to build it themselves, rather. And they can't sustain as long as these fucking, you know, demon patches are still around. They've mastered the skill of hunting animals, so now they can make their own food. See, they're getting more sustainable, and now they've got, you can see a cute little horse hanging out. They're getting livestock, they're getting farming going, getting the whole shit going. And here's the real deal. Humans learning to fight so they can fucking take down these goddamn monster layers. Using magic and fucking druid circles and whatever the hell, and boom! There you go. They fucking destroyed the shit out of the lair, and somebody found something. They offer you all sorts of little items and powers you can use, which is neato. I did say neato right then. Those little blue guys are fucking assholes. Especially because if you don't hit them from the right direction, they will... Oh shit! See? Stealing my people. They will spin around. They'll do little football jukes. You have to hit them from the right direction. This happens a lot. People unexpectedly have something to tell me a lot. This guy's been having some fucking visions and shit. He thinks that his thoughts and nightmares are coming to life. He can sense something holy coming from these conspicuous little green bushes over here on the forest to the right down there. Now, this game had a sequel, which could have been amazing, Actraiser 2, and I want to go on record saying that unlike what Corey says on his channel, Actraiser 2 is not one of the worst games ever made. It's certainly one of the hardest, and it's... Fuck, see? Their little bastard destroyed his building. Actraiser 2 is one of the hardest, and it's kind of like Ghosts and Goblins in that sense because it's hard, or Ninja Gaiden. It's not hard because the game is fucking hard. It's hard because the controls make it needlessly hard. They gave the character wings in Actraiser 2, and, you know, that's a cool idea. It's aesthetically pleasing. The problem is they don't execute it well. All you can do is jump and glide down diagonally. And that's the way you're meant to play the game, is to do these gliding diagonal swoops and attacks like that. And that's great, but it doesn't work very well in practice. People cause fires and then ask God to put it out. That's so silly of them, but isn't that what you love about them? Like, no, as a god, I would not love that. Like, don't start fires, assholes. But Actraiser 2 is a decent game. But its worst sin, aside from its controls... Fuck off, you little bastard! Oh, shit, you see that I lost some people. Is that it doesn't have these world building areas. Actraiser 2, 0 world building. All action. So here we are, after a nice montage, because you don't really want to sit and watch me build the entire fucking town, because I'm a completionist, as you can see. I like to fill out the roads. You gotta have all the roads. You gotta let these people have the most they can get. Shit that you missed out on was, you know, them learning to fish, learning to build bridges, learning to build better buildings, finding some more items for me. Me blowing up a fucking rock, which revealed that evil pit you saw over there on the right, which we're gonna go to real quick. Right here, that evil fucking demon pit. A portal straight to hell! Huh? As you can see, the population exploded up to 674. That's about as big as you can get it. If I hadn't lost a couple houses, it would have been a little higher, but that's about it, I think. That's what I'm talking about. Like, if you could have that, but let it keep going. Let you keep building and building bigger and bigger towns and evolve them more. That would be neat. Like, I would play that game. So now we're going to go take our Sky Palace and hover over this evil fucking pit. And we are going to go handle the source of the evil living in this area so that Fillmore will be free and live in peace. Whoa! Extreme close-up! Here's another great little tune. Really fits the personality of these bleak, scary caverns. I always thought it was funny the attack noise that this guy makes when you use your sword. It sounds kind of like a robot laughing because he goes ha 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 ha. It's pretty good though. It's classic shit. But yeah, as you can see, the action parts in Actraiser 1, they aren't perfect. And you can certainly have more moves to be able to do and shit like that. But they work pretty well. They work well enough to be a fun game. Actraiser 2, you see in Actraiser 1 how he runs at a pretty decent pace. He jogs along. In Actraiser 2, you've got wings. You look like an angel. But you're slow as fuck. You cannot run anymore. You just walk, you saunter along real slow. And then you jump up and glide, and you can do kind of a little double flap jump. But really, like, they fucked up. Even if Actraiser 2 was going to have no world building parts, which is a big mistake, because that was one of the most popular elements of the game. Having wings, even having wings, would have been fine if they had given you control, like, let's say Demon's Crest or Gargoyle's Quest, to hover in the air and actually kind of fly around a bit. That could have been great if it would have. It could have worked out great. The game fucking demons. The game could have been good. The reason that Actraiser 2 turned out that way, as it turns out, is because Enix, the publisher, told the developer Quintet that they didn't think fans liked the world building part that much. They wanted a game that was just action. They ordered a sequel and then ordered Quintet to only do action scenes, no building, and so it's Enix's fault. If you want somebody to blame for Actraiser 2 not being great, and subsequently there never being an Actraiser 3 probably, yeah, blame that little red asshole. Blame Enix, because Enix fucked up there. They made a bad choice. If Actraiser 2 had better controls and world building, an expanded world building experience, it could have been a great sequel. It could have been better than this. But, as it is, it has really good graphics, and the soundtrack, while not as good as the first one, still pretty decent, pretty good. But, yeah, that's too bad. Because an Actraiser 2, there never needed to be a sequel, just like a lot of movies and games don't need sequels. Which, games and movie industries, the business types, the corporate types never seem to understand that. They just want money. If something succeeds and makes money, they want to make a sequel because they want more money. But artistically speaking, of course, some things, like Actraiser, might have arguably been better left by itself, being a standalone product, you know? But if they were going to make an Actraiser 2, it definitely deserved to be a better game than it was. But even with all that said, I disagree with Corey. It's definitely not one of the worst games ever made. So here's the first real boss. And this guy is a bit of an asshole if you don't know how to deal with him, because he just drops right down on you like that. And I'm fucking up. I'm not anticipating where he's going to land, because it's been a while since I played this. You know, his face is a bit obscured by that axe, but he is a giant minotaur type guy. So this is, you know, this is some Greek mythology shit right here, because he's a giant minotaur guarding a fucking giant maze that you had to go through. And I whooped his ass with 2 hits left. Or technically probably 1 hit left. So there you go. Fillmore, clear of monsters. I worked that shit over. I've done my godly duties. Sir Retro stands tall. Sir Retro, I know it's unexpected, but our people in Fillmore have something to say. Oh, look at that shit. See, that's sad. Her husband, the other leader, I assume it's her husband, he died. He died being afflicted by the monster's curse. But he was finally able to be of some help to the people of Fillmore. With the elimination of all the monsters, they can control their own town and their own destinies, and you made it all possible. Thanks, Sir Retro. That's me saying that. There's people outside dancing and praising my fucking name, going, Sir Retro, you're the best. If he can't do it, go on a quest. See, the evil hole's gone. I'm gonna survey my little fucking kingdom here. And there you go. That is Actraiser 1. It's fun enough that I could honestly keep on playing. And I might come back and play another area at some point. But for now, that's a good stopping point. I want to wish everybody a happy holidays and a very happy new year. And I will see you next time.